Greetings and happy holidays, everybody. My name is Ben and welcome back to the bench for another episode of our 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. Now, I took Christmas Day off because, well, it's Christmas Day, wanted to relax with the family, but today we're going to jump right back on day number 10. Let's go ahead and pull out that box. As you can see, we only have 3 more kits left. So this should be exciting to see what we pull. Last episode was great. I really enjoyed building that aircraft. So today, well, let's hope we get something equally as fun. Going to reach on in there, fish around a little bit. Okay, I've got the labels, pull that out. Oh, awesome. Okay, we're going to be building the Focke-Wulf 190, the weekend edition by Edward. So this should be fun, guys. Now, Edward always makes great kits. I haven't really run across any Edward kit that I haven't enjoyed building, and this one I'm hoping is going to be equally as fun. This is 1/72 scale, and I actually have 2 Focke-Wulf 190s in my display case in 1/48 scale. So I think I might want to do this one as an ornament for my tree. Decals look fantastic. We have both the regular markings and we have a very extensive stencil sheet behind that. That's always one thing that's confused me about stencils. They never really tell you when to put those on. Maybe it's common knowledge, but I don't really know, to be honest. I'm going to go ahead and just see what we have for the markings and move forward from there. The instructions, of course, are very typical Edward. They're very nicely laid out, very glossy. High quality images for sure. We show all the different part breakdowns. It goes through a pretty extensive assembly. I think it's going to be a really nice model. We start off, of course, in the cockpit, working ourselves all the way through to the very end, and then we have our markings. So I think this is going to be a pretty fun little build. In terms of markings, we have 2 really cool looking paint schemes. I'm probably going to go ahead and do this one right here, the Black 12 with the snake on it. Though this one over here is actually really nice looking too. But I don't know, something about that snake decal just makes me want to try that. And then of course we have all of our stencils on the back there. I'm already seeing that there's going to be a couple of stencils, well, more than a couple, that are going to be obscured by both the snake motif and also the stripe right there along the back. So we'll take that as it comes. We might not use all the stencils. Just a quick close-up for the plastic here. As you can see, very, very nicely molded in details. We have some recessed panel lines. Everything looks nice and crisp. Edward makes great kits, guys, for sure. We have a lot of detail for the cockpit as well, so that's nice to see, though it is very small. So if it's just going to be sitting on a display shelf, or maybe like for me, hanging from a Christmas tree, you're probably not going to be poking around in there looking too much. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time on the interior. I want to really focus on the exterior though and see if I can't get that looking cool. So I think I'm in good hands with these instructions. I'm not exactly really worried about that, but I do want to go ahead and focus on this as more of an ornament. Last year I built a ton of them, and this snake motif, this Black 12, looks actually really cool. I like this. We're going to have to go ahead and paint on this blue marking though. We actually don't have a decal of that, so that's going to be a little challenging, but it shouldn't be too bad. Plus we have our yellow cowling right there on the underside of the aircraft, and then our mixture of, it looks like RLM 75 and 74, so that shouldn't be too bad. Though I don't actually have the RLM 76 that they call out for the bottom side of the aircraft. I actually only have RLM 66, so we're going to go ahead and use that instead. So let's go ahead and jump into our very first time lapse. I want to go ahead and start the basic assembly. I want to get everything nicely assembled and then cleaned up, sand down the seams or anything like that. And then I want to go ahead and prime everything with the Stalnares white primer. So let's go ahead and jump in there for our very first time lapse, guys. Let's get this kit moving. All right, everybody, we are back, and I have a more or less ready for painting Focke-Wulf FW190. We've got our NATO black for pre-shade, we've got our Style-N-Res white primer, and honestly, this is looking pretty awesome. So now we're going to go ahead and jump into our camouflage. And like I mentioned, I don't actually have the RLM 76 that they call out for the bottom side of the aircraft. I actually only have RLM 66. We're going to go ahead and just push on with the RLM 66. And from my quick preliminary research, that wouldn't necessarily be incorrect, depending on what they had in the field for repaints. So I'm not really going to worry about it too much. Plus, most of the aircraft will be obscured by decals. And on the top section, we're going to go ahead and do RLM 74 and 75. So that should be fine with a little bit of RLM 75 onto the side of the aircraft. So I'm pretty sure that we can go ahead and get this done. But let me go ahead and talk a little bit about the canopy. Now, Edward gives you a couple of options for canopies, one open, one closed. They don't give you extra windscreens. And for some odd reason, when I was clipping off that windscreen, it cracked right down the middle. It absolutely just splintered apart. But now that I have a crack running right down the front of my windscreen, I go ahead and just black out the canopy. Glue the two pieces together, and then I can maybe polish it out a little bit and then just paint the inside black. And I'm hoping that should obscure that line enough so you don't really notice it. I don't know what happens. Sometimes things just happen like that. So let's go ahead and jump back into a time lapse. We're going to go ahead and get some camo painted on there. We're going to get some detail painting. I've got the RLM 66 and then the RLM 74 and 75. And then of course the yellow and then the blue and white band in the rear of the fuselage. Lots to do, guys. It's unfortunate about the canopy, but like always, we move on and just make it work. All right, everybody, we are back and our 190 is looking very glossy and we are ready for decals. So you can see I've got the yellow band right there on the bottom of the cowling. We have our blue and white alternating band there in the back. Camouflage looks okay. We're going to move on to decals now, and these decals should go on without much hassle. Edward kits always have great decals. At least I've never had a problem with any of those. So we're going to go ahead and just start cutting these out and then apply them with our very standard microsaw and microset combination. I'm going to grab some warm water because for some reason warm water seems to help with application. At least I've found that they slip off the back a lot easier with warm water as opposed to cool water. Then with a little bit of microset, put down the decal, a little bit of microsaw on top of that. So this should be pretty simple, guys. I'm not exactly worried about it. The longer snake decal right there, actually they tell you to cut it in 4 very specific areas. And I'm assuming that's to go ahead and take into account any sort of contours of the fuselage as well as that defense band there on the back of the fuselage. So we're going to go ahead and just jump in here, get our last time lapse going. We're going to get all the decals applied, and then we're going to start our weathering process. And for weathering, we're going to keep it real simple. We're just going to use some panel liners by AK. Just going to go ahead and use that kind of like a sludge wash, wipe them down to dirty up some of the panels here and there. Do a little bit of powder work with some AIM weathering powder and then a quick flat coat with Winsor Newton matte varnish. And we are ready to go ahead and show you guys a finished 190A8. So let's go ahead and jump into that time lapse, guys. Push this thing forward and get it all finished up. All right, everybody, we are back and we have finished our FW190. I'm very excited to go ahead and get this thing hung up on the tree, but I want to go ahead and show you guys what we came up with. Now, we did have that trouble with the canopy and I just had to make it work, so it doesn't look as great as I'd like it to, but again, it's going to be at a distance. So here it is, the Edward 1/72 scale Focke-Wulf 190 A8 as a tree ornament. What can I say? It's a very nice little model kit. I went ahead and I applied all the decals, and that took a little bit of time and effort, but for the most part, I like how it looks. We've got that snake there on the side of the aircraft. We've got all of our markings pretty much where I want them, so I'm happy with it. And just giving you a really quick close-up, guys, you can see all the detail. Now, this is, of course, the RLM 74 and 75 pattern here on the wings and on the fuselage. I did end up coming in with RLM 66 instead of the standard 76. I just didn't have 76, so went with what I had. We did a little bit of panel liner streaking with AK panel liners, a little bit of powder work with our AIM weathering powder, and then of course we overcoated everything with a nice matte varnish by Winsor Newton. Went ahead and I freehanded the camo instead of using masks. I just like doing the freehand camo, it's fun. And most of the pictures I've seen look a little bit less meticulous with a soft feathered edge. Now on the underside of the aircraft, we also worked with the exact same AK panel liner, and we did a little bit of streaking with some AIM weathering powder. As you can see, I tried to capture a little bit of gun dust coming off of the shell ejection ports and off of the cannons. I think it's okay. It's not perfect, but I'm more or less happy with the end results. So we're going to go ahead and call this one quits. Really, honestly, this was such a great kit, guys. Aside from breaking off that pitot tube at least twice, it's not too bad. We do have our easy line there tacked into the back, and of course the canopy just, I don't know. I don't like how it looks. It looks kind of like garbage, but it's okay because, again, it snapped. We just had a mess of a time with that canopy. You're not really going to notice it. It's going to be at a nice 3-foot range, going to be hanging from my tree, and I think it is what it is. But that's going to go ahead and do it for us today, guys. We are finished off here on day number 10. The Focke-Wulf 190 A8 looks great. I'm going to hang it there on my Christmas tree. And I got to be honest, if I was a little kid, man, I'd be playing with this nonstop. I would have had so many dogfights between the Spitfire Mark V and then, of course, the 190. So it would have been a lot of fun. You never know. I might sneak in there and do that when no one's looking. But we will see you back here on episode number 11 for the 12 Sprues of Kit-mas. We are getting down to the wire, guys. So until then, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. Thanks so much, everybody. We'll see you soon.